So welcome to the talk, everyone. I was just explaining that this is Sangkyong, and it's a method from South Korea, and we work with ki. And ki is the vibration of life, we call it. So it's this vibration that's inside of us, that's feeding our spirit, mind, and body in the best way. And all of us have ki inside of us. And when we're filled with ki, we're the best versions of ourselves. We're happy, we're healthy, and we're connected with our spirit, and everything is flowing in our life. And when we don't have ki, that's when we feel tired, drained, or we have physical problems, or emotionally we're negative. And so ki really is everything. And the first point of call when you come to the center here is often we give a ki treatment. And the ki treatment is acupressure, touching on energy points, and we make a sound, which is like a and when we give these ki treatments, we're filling your system, your energy system, which is like the battery in a car. We're filling it with ki. And that's feeding your spirit, mind, and body. It's clearing pain, it's clearing toxins, it's clearing negative emotions. And then the practitioners, so myself and I have colleagues in other centers, we can feel where you're blocked, what type of blockages you have, and your energy level. And we can give feedback afterwards. And then people often start the classes, which are a mixture of meditation, movement, and chanting, to connect with this same vibration. It's a harmonious, stable, peaceful vibration. And when you're filled with ki, you're like your original self. You're filled with light, love, energy, and you are compassionate, generous, happy, and you want to give. So it's human beings at our best. So really, I think most of the people that have an experience here, and especially my own experience, we come here and we feel what happens when we have enough ki and when our ki is flowing properly. So if we have blockages in our energy system, then ki can't flow, and then of course we start to get symptoms again, emotional, physical, or so many things stem from that. You think of a battery in a car, it has two types of fuel. It has the fuel, say this is our energy battery here. It has the fuel that's coming from all the physical things we need, like what we eat, how we sleep, exercise, all of those things. But also the main primary source of fuel is the ki. So when we have ki, it's our force for life, basically. And what's blocking us from having ki is many things, but the primary things being what we do physically. So that is important, but it's on one level. The emotions that we have, which is really so much deeper, you think every time you have an emotion, it's causing a blockage inside of you, and then that's draining your ki, or your ki can't flow properly. And then the deeper blockage is what this talk is about, which is inherited blockages coming from ancestors. So I remember when I first found out about ancestors, I had no idea what ancestors, I knew what they were, but I'd never talked about them. I didn't have any understanding. And this practice it's obviously from the East originally, but actually it's a universal practice. There's a belief in the East, in Korea, that ancestors are always with us. The spirit and mind of our ancestors are always with us. In the belief that energy never dies, we're in one cycle and life is eternal. So we have our physical body, we come to this earth, and then we go back to being invisible, but everything continues. And that's the cycle of life. You think of just how a day works, or a month, or a year, or a season. Everything's continuing constantly. So in a way, I often find it quite soothing if you have something negative in your life. Everything's always moving anyway. So our job as human beings, the belief here is that our job is to follow the universal rhythm, the universal cycle. But what's happened over many, many years is that human beings, we haven't done that. We've actually begun to follow our own rhythm. And so we've moved away from the universal cycle. And when that started to happen, that is when karma, which is such an important thing I'm going to talk about, started to be created. Because karma is basically habit, which is patterns that human beings create, that become habit, that then become a deep karmic pattern. And we are in an incredible time now where this vibration of ki is at its most powerful. The most powerful light, love, and energy is coming to the earth, and we have this opportunity to connect with it. So that's really what we're doing here. And we want every single person to connect as deeply as they can and to brighten as much as they can, in the belief that we're not going to take our physical body with us. So we use our physical body to create light for our mind and our spirit. And then when we leave this world, we go back so much brighter, and then we can help more people and share this light with others. And I see miraculous things happen here. But what is the biggest blockage to us creating this light and clearing what we need to clear is the karma. And so there's people talk about karma, obviously, but karma really, it can become really physical in the body. So when I give someone a treatment, I can feel karmic blockages. They're very, very deep. And if you think that people in your family, your ancestors, might have had a certain pattern. So for me, my pattern was really high anxiety. And I actually didn't realize I had it until after it had gone, after I did this course of Ancestor Healing that we do here. And I just, I remember finishing the Ancestor Healing and realizing that I'd had anxiety my whole life. But just, you don't know. Ansiedad, sí. I see, yeah. It's a common one at the moment with everything going on in the world. And I guess I realized that I'd had it because the vibration of my thoughts and my mind started to calm and started to become more like this universal vibration of Ki after I did the Ancestor Healing. Suddenly I had space in my mind, peace, this feeling of real clarity and focus to know what I needed to do. And then I looked back to before the process and realized that the vibration of my mind was like this. It was so busy. It was constantly active. And that was, my biggest problem before I found this work was almost chronic fatigue. But I was pushing, I wasn't stopping. I was a theatre director, but I had no energy left. I'd completely used up my energy battery. And so the career was going very well, and on the outside everything was going well, but inside really I was crumbling. I was not good, and so physically I couldn't really cope, even though I was pretending to cope. I just didn't have energy. The thought of, I'd wake up and I'm a naturally happy person, but I would have all this anxiety of how am I going to get through the day because I've got no energy. And then I would just drag myself from place to place and then try and lie down when I could. And it wasn't really, the last couple of years were quite tough. I was working in quite high level theatres where you don't take a break, but I didn't have any energy. And I think, and now I can look back and see how the karmic patterns coming from ancestors for me were really pushing me to burn out, to my energy battery was at zero. So I then, of course, when physically you're not well, you go inwards, you start to think, okay, I tried all the nutrition and the doctors didn't do anything, and changing my diet, taking supplements, so many things, but I only got a little bit better. So then of course you go to look inwards, and I realized there was some emotional things, and I wasn't very conscious of myself, but I started to go on a bit of a spiritual path. In fact, I'd say in 2 years, I kind of tried everything and anything. I kind of just went for it. I think with hindsight, I can look back and see it was like a desperate search to heal myself, of course, but to connect spiritually and to sort of find out what is this life about and why am I here and what do I need to do. And tried many, many things, many alternative practices that I'm sure many of you have tried here in Ibiza. But for me, everything I tried helped a little bit, but not fully, if you know what I mean. It really, I just felt like the same patterns were coming back each time. And it was, things might help me feel good for a few days, but then the low energy, the anxiety, everything was coming back. And so I found this practice in a field in Reading with my mum at a yoga festival, and we saw a sign saying recharge, and we thought it was somewhere to charge our phones, and we walked over and they said, no, we can give you an energy treatment. And we both had this treatment that I was talking about, pressing on the energy points, making the sound. And some people have a treatment they feel instantly really amazing and lighter, and some people have a huge shift. And some people it's more subtle and it takes longer. For me, it wasn't a huge shift, but I felt really good after the treatment, and I made quite a strong bond with my practitioner. And I felt deep inside, something in me was saying, this might be the thing that finally helps you after trying a myriad of things. And so I started going to the London Centre. My mother actually bought a course of treatments, which I'm grateful for. And I started having more treatments and started regaining my energy slowly. And especially when I started the classes with the treatments, I felt, finally I feel good. I feel clear. And I felt like after 9 years of not really feeling myself, I started feeling more recharged, really, and able to cope with life and happier. And my mind was starting to get clearer from the classes. But then what I noticed is when you start to get a bit better, you have a bit more clarity and space to see what the real problem is. And I realized there was this underlying pattern of pushing myself so much that I would burn out every single time. And even if I was feeling good or had a little bit of energy, I would use it and do something. I couldn't really relax. And then I remember saying to my practitioner at the time, I think this pattern isn't even mine because it just keeps happening again and again and again, getting ill. And I realized it was coming from quite a low self-confidence, low self-worth, thinking I had to do more, push more, prove myself more. And actually, so then that was when she said, well, this might be coming from your ancestors. And I read the booklet on Ancestor Healing, and I didn't really know what it was, but something in me was very moved. I started crying, and I thought, okay, I go with how I feel. This practice is quite hard to understand rationally. It's very much connecting with your heart, and there's an inner knowing, and then gradually the mind catches up later, I would say. So I went away and did a job and decided when I was away, okay, I'm going to start this Ancestor Healing. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to give it a go because it feels right. So I started, and the 21-day course of Ancestor Healing is made up of 4 ceremonies where we offer food and fruit and flowers and wine to the universe, to nature and to ancestors, to this invisible world that gives us our life. So the whole practice is based on a deep respect and gratitude for ancestors and for life, really, and for the invisible that creates the physical. And so there's a ceremony once a week, and then every day there's chanting, and that can be done in the center or at home. So it's not a huge commitment physically, but invisibly there's a lot happening. And I just remember going through the process. I think I was directing a show at the time. But every time I did a ceremony, I would feel like anxious beforehand on the day, but then really excited, like something big was going to happen. And then all sorts of emotions and thoughts throughout the ceremony. My mind would be racing. But then at the end of the ceremony and in the meditation, it was only an hour or so long, so clear and so light, and like I was walking on clouds, and a feeling I don't think I'd felt before. It was pretty amazing. And then I remember seeing my face thinking, gosh, I look very different. I look like this darkness started to lift. And I saw it in my father at the same time. He didn't know I was doing Ancestor Healing. He wouldn't have approved or understood it. But I saw the same cloud lift from his face, which was really amazing, actually. And then on the final ceremony, that's day 21, ancestors basically go to this world of light, a brighter place where they belong. And the belief is that ancestors are so desperate to get to this place. This is where we should be. But because of the karma of the spirit, ancestors, they don't have a high enough vibration to get there. So Ancestor Healing is a method given by the universe to help ancestors go to this place of light where they need to be. And on day 21 is where they go there. So it's like a big celebration. And of course, everything's happening invisibly. So in a way, I was quite lucky. I felt a lot. I'm quite sensitive. Some people don't feel as much. Obviously, then you have to trust more. But I really felt like something was happening, I felt different. And on the final ceremony, I felt like this big weight lift from me. All the like these rucksacks that had been on me my whole life went. And then I would say it took a couple of weeks of integration and continuing to go to the classes and just create my own connection. And then I felt so different, like, this is me now, and I know who I am without this baggage from ancestors. And that just got stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where I realized I want to help all my ancestors, because we have different family lines and I didn't do all of them. Very quickly I managed to complete all my lines. And yeah, it was like the light was turned on, and that's when I realized, gosh, my whole life was and then that vibration calms, like the sea after a storm, the calm of the sea. It was such a beautiful feeling, actually. And then that was when I realized I really want to share this with others, and so I wanted to become a practitioner, which was kind of not in my plan because theatre was going very well, but I never looked back. It was the best thing to do. And now that I lead the Ancestor Healing ceremonies and I guide people through the process, I have, I would say I have 100% trust in the process, because I see every single person energetically change so much in those 3 weeks, like so much lifting from them, like layers coming off of karma. And I see people on a longer term basis make a big shift in their life often. Of course, it depends on each person, what they're dealing with and the state of their mind. But if people do ancestor healing and then they really want to kind of get to a better place, what I see is after a couple of months of them finishing, the path of their life, it's like it's going this way, which is often a bit negative, and then the path just completely goes a new way. So then whatever they want to achieve in their life becomes more manageable. And ancestor healing is not like, quick fix to your problems. It's actually completely laying a new foundation for you then to make the changes in your life that you want to make for yourself. Because what I experience time and time again is many clients coming in with problems. They're desperate to change and they have such a big heart to make those changes, and they're doing everything they can, within their capability. But when the problems are coming from karma and from ancestors, it's the karma, the ancestors are the roots of the tree. So they're just working on the trunk, on themselves, but the roots aren't healed. You can't really heal the tree, if you know what I mean. So I can see and feel, you start to heal the ancestors, then you can achieve what you want to achieve. And often it's a deep pattern of anxiety or depression or anger, or sometimes it's a karmic pattern in relationships, sometimes it's in health, sometimes it's in wealth and creating abundance, because whatever our ancestors have been through is passing on. That's the belief here. Energy never dies. And so we're just one long line of vibration, carrying on, carrying on, carrying on. And then what we're dealing with in our life now is a result of all of that karma. And there is the karma from our own spirit as well. But the belief is we're matched with ancestors when we're born. And so then together as one team, we kind of go through this life with the aim to create more light for ourselves and for those around us. And ancestors, what I feel, I can feel ancestors. Ancestors have a certain smell sometimes. They have a certain feeling, like a heaviness or a lightness, usually less light. But we're not aware of that. Most people aren't aware of that. But what I can feel and understand is that ancestors are so desperate. They're looking for the descendant that can help them in this period of time, because the universe is moving, like I was saying, and then we're in a period of time now. The universe is opening the door to give this method to human beings. So my job as a key master is literally to just be the clearest vessel I can be, so that the universal vibration can come through me and into the person and to their ancestors. And that happens during ancestor healing in the ceremonies, which are each week, and also in the chanting. And I feel that ancestors are so, first of all, so desperate to change. And the belief is you can't change your state. Once you get to the invisible world, if you don't have a physical body, it's very hard to change. So they're looking for the descendant with the bright enough light, with a big enough heart to do the ancestor healing for them. And often they know when that descendant is born, this is the person. And then they're guiding that descendant in their life to create the light. Because when you do ancestor healing, you help one line of ancestors, which might be, for example, the father's line, is healing 100 spirits, 100 ancestors minimum. So that is a lot of your family that you're helping. And then, of course, it's helping your living family and any future descendants, because you're all the same line. So what we're doing here, ancestor healing, it's deep and it's profound and it's long lasting and it's very, very precious. And it's not something to be taken lightly. At the same time, it's very, very valuable, you know, and it's changing the course of the family forever. And that's what I see in people, and what people who have done ancestor healing experience, really. So I guess the other thing to talk about really is that what we want people to connect with at the end of the day is something that we call the mind of the universe. And the mind of the universe is what you might call the source or the universe or God, or it's this highest vibration, the highest vibration that has created life and is supporting life with ki, with this vibration. And so the mind of the universe is the thing giving all the ki, all the light, all the love, all the energy to people when they come to the center here, to people generally in life. But in the center, it's like intensified, all the vibration that you can connect to. It's like a big, clearer vessel for it to come through because of the training that we do. And every time you come here, you can connect with the mind of the universe more and more through our treatments and through our classes. Then when you do ancestor healing, you're connecting with the mind of the universe to allow your body and your mind to be a vessel for ancestors. So during 21 days, we are working with the invisible world, and this invisible world is giving ancestors everything they need through your physical body. So you're receiving way more light and energy, vibration, during ancestor healing than you would when you just come to the center normally, because you have to help. The mind of the universe is seeing your heart and your effort and giving accordingly. And then you're also clearing what ancestors need to clear, the trauma and the pain. So during ancestor healing, you can feel some days what your ancestors have been through and what they're going through, which is, you know, a deep clearing and healing of all this heaviness. At the same time, because you chant every day, you connect with this beautiful vibration coming from the mind of the universe. And our aim as masters is to help people connect to that more and more. It's not this practice, I think this is important to say, because there's quite a few practices, especially in Ibiza, dealing with ancestors. But sometimes practices are connecting with ancestors, and this is not what we're doing here. We're healing ancestors with a deep respect and gratitude for them. But the aim is to help people connect to a much higher vibration than the vibration of ancestors, which is coming directly from the universe, directly from the source. And then through that connection with this method, naturally the ancestors are healing and receiving what they need. Does that make sense? That makes sense. So, so it's a very powerful method. So, of course, ancestors are receiving what they need during this 3 weeks. At the same time, you're creating your own foundation to connect spiritually, to connect with your own spirit and to connect with the universe. And actually, the belief here is that our spirit is a mini version of the mind of the universe. And we are like a reflection of the physical universe. Our eyes represent the sun and moon. Our bones represent the mountains, our blood, the rivers, our hair, the trees. We have 70% water inside our body, and the earth has 70% water. So we are made up of nature, and we come from this highest vibration, and we go back there. But in this period of time, because of the karma, because of human beings essentially losing gratitude and respect for our lives, for the mind of the universe that's created us, because of that, the karma builds up. And karma builds up when we start to follow the human desires mainly for money, fame, power, sex, food, you know, those things that are not bad things, but if we're placing those things in the top, you know, above the need to give love and compassion and respect and gratitude, we start to create karma. So that is why in this period of time, so much is built up and ancestors can't be where they need to be. So ancestors are all around us. They're with us whether we like it or not. The belief here is that about 70% of our thoughts and emotion, the vibration, is coming from ancestors. So, and I'll give you an example. So many patterns can be handed down in families, right? You think of addiction. You can have a grandfather who is an alcoholic, and then the grandfather dies, and the grandson isn't an alcoholic, but he starts to have problems at work and have a drink, and he starts to get stressed. So everything depends on our own vibration as well. And if that grandson's vibration starts to drop, the grandfather can connect with him much more easily. And then what might just be a small pattern starting becomes a deep habit. And it becomes both the problem of the ancestor and of the grandson. But the thing is, he starts to get affected by ancestors much, much more. So, I've noticed before I found this practice, I can pinpoint moments in my life where I think, I had a lot of ancestors affecting me at that point. Interestingly, my teacher, mentor, Master O, he's a key master of 35 years, well, almost 40 now. And so he's got to a point where his connection with the mind of the universe is 100%. And you feel it when you meet him, and he's giving so much love, and he's got so much wisdom, and he has such a mission to help the world. And he once said to me, your life changed, it became a spiritual life in 2015. And I actually remember, I've not told this story before, but I remember New Year's Eve 2014, and something happened. I don't need to go into the event, but I remember spending that night just sobbing uncontrollably, but like the whole night I couldn't sleep. And now I can look back and I think, yes, I got myself into a very low vibration of, I guess, kind of despair, sadness, depression, and which was unusual. I wasn't normally in that place. And because I was in such a low vibration, all my ancestors started to connect, and then it felt overwhelming. When you can't stop crying, that's a sign that it's not just coming from you. And then, funnily enough, from that moment onwards was when I started to find spiritual methods, and went on this path to eventually find this. So there's so many things happening invisibly in our lives that we don't know about. And once you start to have an awareness of it, and you start to grow that awareness, for me it was like, everything seems to make sense, And it's not that we don't take responsibility, that we just blame ancestors for everything, because we also need to take control of ourselves and keep working on ourselves. And we help you here to work on your mind and to practice more gratitude and to open your heart and to bring in more light to this point here, which is for your spirit, more love for your heart and more energy for your body. But if we only work on ourselves, my belief is that we can only get to a certain level. Then ancestors are our root, they're our foundation, our base. As soon as there is a trigger, that karma from ancestors is going to show itself again in our life. And so many people have that. It comes back again and again and again. But I've had some beautiful stories recently. There's a girl that she did all of the Ancestor Healing online, because we do it in the center and online. It actually doesn't really matter because vibration is invisible. But if you do it in person, you cook food for your ancestors once a week for the ceremony. And it's really, really beautiful experience. And if you do it online, we cook for you. So I'm doing that at the moment. But this girl, she did everything online, but she has changed and transformed so much because she's kept going and kept trusting. And she's found a couple of months after finishing Ancestor Healing that there is such a huge shift in her mentality, because before she said, she's in her mid-40s, she said her whole life she felt like nothing ever went her way. Those people where you think, they just have bad luck. And she just felt like, she'd always get stuck or something would happen. And she was very emotionally sensitive. So her emotions would be very up and down. And when they were down, it was like a whirlwind. And again, that sobbing that I talked about, she was very affected by ancestors. And it used to happen when she came to the center. And then after Ancestor Healing, it just doesn't happen now. There's this brightness, there's this positivity. And she said there's a feeling inside of her that everything's good and going to work out okay. And she's actually making her wishes are becoming a reality now, the things she wants to manifest in her life. Other people healing physical problems. For me, I healed the chronic fatigue. I have plenty of energy now. There's 2 practitioners, the masters, key masters that are doing this work. Most of us had a transformational experience, and that's why we give up our lives to do this work, really. And 2 of them were in wheelchairs with like severe chronic fatigue, and they're completely fine now through healing the ancestors. And I will finish in a moment, but the last thing I just wanted to touch on, because ancestors, you think of a physical condition, ancestors can be inside your body. Your body can become like a house for ancestors. And if you're sensitive especially, and if your vibration, you can't keep it high, then they come in, they come out, they come in, they come out, depending on your state of mind. And so really what we want to teach people here is to connect with this highest vibration of light, love and energy, so that ancestors can't do that. But of course, the actual foundation, the ancestors' vibration has to be healed in order to do that as well. So yeah, practically it's a 3-week course, and it's 4 ceremonies on day 1, 7, 14, 21. If you do it with Master O, my teacher and mentor, you can also do it in just one ceremony. Ancestors go to the light in this one ceremony, and then you chant for 21 days after. So there are 2 options.
Chant is cantar.
Cantar, sí. So the chanting is a big part of our practice. It's chanting creates a vibration, and the specific chants we have, they're actually in Korean, but they have a translation. But the vibration of the chants is so powerful that you're like opening the door for ancestors to receive this light and energy. And during ancestor healing, ancestors every single day invisibly are receiving like the food they need, the vibration through your chanting, and through the more you put into the process, the more they receive. But the process is working no matter what. Yeah, it's very, very powerful. And then on day 21 it finishes, and then usually I recommend people to carry on chanting for a couple of weeks if they can, as much as they can, you know, just to integrate everything. And then it's clearing a lot, a huge amount in quite a short space of time. So do any of you have any questions at this point?
Yeah, so it was like either 21-day chanting and in one ceremony they go to the light, and the other option was?
Yeah, so the main way we have always done ancestor healing is 21 days and 4 ceremonies. So you start and end with a ceremony and chanting every day. And on the final ceremony, the person leading the ceremony gives a special order for ancestors to go to the world of light. And that's forever. That can't be taken away again. You know, that's for eternity. So it's quite big things we're doing. But a few years ago, Master O, who's the pioneer of this practice in the West, he was able to do ancestor healing in one ceremony. So he's coming to Ibiza he's going to lead a ceremony on the 7th of December, and he can send ancestors to the light in one ceremony. But then you think that's quite, compared to 21 days cultivation, that's quite quick for them to suddenly be in the world of light. So then, but it's more that the universe gives more power in that one ceremony for ancestors. And then 21 days after, you chant to help them get used to being there, and for your own cultivation as well and your own connection. The chanting can be, the good thing about this, it can work around your life. Someone started ancestor healing yesterday, last minute. She just felt like, I have to start now. And she is very, very busy. She's the CEO of a company, and she's in meetings, she's got kids, you know, all that thing. So she's making it work because she can chant in the morning before she starts her day. She's making the ceremonies work. She's actually doing most of them in Ibiza, but one in London because we have a centre in London. So, and then people can join online, and you can chant either with me in the centre, with me online, on your own at home. So there's many ways of making it work. But it's good to know, this is a big thing I'm doing for my family, so that you put your effort into it for those 21 days. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds beautiful.
It's very beautiful, yeah. And it's very beautiful when you go in with that mind that I can see you have of like, what a beautiful thing I'm able to do. And so you go into the process with gratitude and respect, and then you receive even more because you open yourself. And it's basically the law of nature. Everything you're giving, you're receiving back. So ancestor healing, you're giving a lot to help your ancestors, and then the universe is giving even more back. So yeah.